now it's 6 o'clock, we're gonna open the meeting. So, it's the meeting of the Board of Public Works, it's Monday, January 8, 2024. It's at the 6 p.m. DPW Media Room, 965 Plain Street. So we're gonna open up we're gonna go to executive session at 6 p.m. in another room to discuss the proposed 40B project off Ferry Street. And then we'll come back and have the public, or you guys, talk about the 40B. But first we're gonna talk to the attorney. So, and our public meeting starts at 6:30. The discussions on the public meeting, road acceptance policy, contract regarding trash and recycling containers, indirect charges discussion, and discussion of proposal 40B project off Ferry Street. We're going to vote to accept minutes of December 11, 2023. We have a superintendent's report, and our next meeting is January 22nd, 2024. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. So what we're gonna do, folks, we're gonna go to another room. We're gonna have an executive session, and then we're gonna come back here for the public.
So we gotta vote.
Yeah, I
Go
know.
into executive.
We gotta vote for us, so you gotta poll, Sean, you gotta poll the board to go into executive session.
Okay.
Make a motion.
Make a mo,
Home board to go into
Right.
executive session, yeah.
John, are you in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Or-
So the reason why we're going to executive session is any big discussion would be detrimental to this town.
Yeah, it's to consider that an open meeting may have detrimental effect on the negotiation proposal of the public body pursuant to General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A6.
So this one is a little bit more detailed, so let me just help you with the motion and then you can second it, okay?
Okay.
So this meeting, consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property if the chair declares that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body, and to return to open session at the conclusion of the executive session. So someone could just adopt that, second it, and then you take a roll call vote.
So I'll adopt it. John, you second it?
I'll second it.
Roll call vote.
Roll-
Yes,
roll
yes,
call.
yes.
Diane?
Aye.
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Okay.
Okay, so you can just tell the public we'll be back.
We'll be back.
As quick as we can.
Let's get back to the regular session.
Okay. Do we need a vote to come back to public?
No, you're all set.
Okay, so,
All set.
all right, so we're gonna, sorry folks, it took so long, I have no control over how long it takes. We're gonna jump right to number 4, discussion of proposed 40B project on Ferry Street. I'm gonna turn it over to Bob Shaughnessy. Is that okay with you?
Yes.
He's more on the actual water itself, but I think he'll give a better handle on it. So Bobby, take it over.
Okay. Can everyone hear me yet back?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
The town is in a difficult position. The ZBA speaks for the whole town, including all the boards, including this board. We are going to do 2 things. The first thing we're going to do is write a letter to the ZBA stating our opposition of this project because we're water commissioners of the detrimental effect of this project of 10,000 gallons of wastewater into our 3 cleanest wells that we have. Ferry 1, Ferry 2, and the Church Street well. Town has a bylaw of PFAS, these emerging chemicals that are out there. And that even if the treatment system that they have, that they're proposing, will not treat those emerging chemicals, especially PFAS. That's the first thing we're gonna do. The second thing we're gonna do is we have, last week, after our previous meeting, we advertised in the Central Register for an expert, so that we have technical expertise to define this, the Little Creek's aquifer, and the Church Street, well, the well system, because it's a confined aquifer. We want to know what's technically what's going on, what the time of travel, what the impact would be from this one particular project, and basically so that we have our ducks in order. Without technical evidence from an expert who would testify in some kind of legal litigation, we have nothing. It's all hearsay. I mean, you know, for the project and not for the project, it means nothing. What it really comes down to is protecting our water supply. So we have it out in the street. It's done. Proposals are coming in January 20th, 24th. We're going to hire an expert. We're going to ask in a letter tomorrow to the ZBA for more time. Hopefully we get more time, but time is limited. It's my understanding that the ZBA speaks for the whole town, so if they approve it, the Board of Public Works can't file suit against the ZBA of the town, even though we're the water commissioners, because according to the Chapter 30B law, as I understand it and what I've heard, and I'm not an expert in it, is that we don't have standing. Who does have standing?
Do we?
Yep.
The abutters have standing. The abutters along that whole strip and anybody around that can file suit, similar to what they did in Stowe.
Right.
So,
Okay.
so that the abutters can file suit based on the detrimental to water quality, and everything else, the removal of all that material that's going to degrade your properties, and you have a negative effect from this property. So I think that moving forward, the residents and the Board of Public Works, we need to come up with a strategy of who has standing and who can file suit and move forward. We are totally against it, but our hands are somewhat tied.
Right.
I have a point to make about that. And I,
So,
if the residents are gonna do something like that, I recommend that they would talk to Attorney Galvin.
Could all the residents in Marshfield say, no way, Jose, here? I mean, does it just have to be the abutters, or does it, I mean, that's my question
Just the about.
to town council.
But it affects everyone.
I mean, that's, it's
Everybody's
everybody's water,
It's
it's
only
not
the
just
abutters?
our
I'm
abutters.
no, but when they come down to it, I believe that town council, you correct this issue, is the abutters have more standing than the rest of us.
But it's everybody's water.
Let town council answer.
Only people that are directly and adversely impacted, and there's a presumption of standing on behalf of abutters, can appeal. So you don't have to be a direct abutter, but if you're not a direct abutter, you have to show a particularized injury that's unique to your property and different in kind from everybody else.
Attorney Galvin, if this could possibly affect 3 wells, Ferry 1 and 2, and the other one was Church Street, okay. An abutter wouldn't be an immediate abutter to the property based on the amount, because I have the numbers of what each well puts out. So if we take, there are 16 wells, I believe, correct?
3. Oh, there's 3
Overall,
wells.
In town.
In town.
in town.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we have low and high district, if we take what Ferry Street 1, 2, and Church Street is in that district, we're gonna separate it. It's not all 16, correct? I mean, they all feed the town, but if we take that area, abutters would be from X, Y, and Z, or people of the town that aren't necessarily adjacent to the property or attached to it. Or is there something in the law that says different?
I think if you're asking, if you live on the other side of town and you're not directly involved in this, your concerns are better expressed to the zoning board of appeals.
Okay.
Go ahead, Dave.
Dave Carey, 30 Road. Town Council, if I might, through you, Mr. Chairman. Has there ever been an attempt at litigation based on a town and its water users protesting something that they know will in fact contribute potential, if not actual, contamination? In particular, PFAS is one of those issues that we all deal with today.
I'm not aware of any cases involving PFAS yet.
Okay, but we're involved as a town
Right.
in a class action litigation on the subject. And DEP is taking the PFOA and the PFOS and turning it to 3 parts per trillion is your limit. Now, one of the things I know from a long life of dealing with regulatory aspects is that one thing you can count on, regulatory ratchet. The other PFASs that are out there will also be tightening up. And ultimately, that costs this town money to extract it, if it gets into the systems, and it adds not just to the capital cost of doing that, but also the operating cost of doing that. So I think we are all abutters, and we are all potentially directly impacted because our water rates will go up.
That would have to be
So
shown.
the other thing you have to remember is, you can't treat a 40B project and the development of a 40B project differently than you treat every other project in the town. So you can't ask the 40B development to suffer the consequences of PFAS without requiring that consequence to be suffered by everybody else. You can't impose on them a requirement that you don't similarly impose on conventional development.
And I respond to that we, in fact, have a piece of town code that does just exactly that in 285-19.1, which stipulates all of the construction aspects that would have to take place in order to exclude PFAS going in. The second thing, though, is that a lot of the PFAS is going to come out of the septic
Let me
system.
interrupt you.
Yes.
One of the unique features about Chapter 40B law is that if it costs the developer so much that it reduces the project and makes it uneconomic, they don't have to comply with any local regulation.
This isn't a local regulation, though, only because it has also been
If
supported
it's in our
by the
bylaws
state,
or in our regulations, it's a local regulation.
but it has also become under the Mass DEP, I believe, the same.
If it's a state regulation, or it's a federal regulation or law, then it applies to everyone.
Understood.
But if it's a local regulation,
Understood.
the developer can say, I don't have to comply with it.
I have a question.
I have a question.
Can I take one in the back, and then you? Yeah,
Okay.
just-
Laura Olson, Ferry Street. I know that you're saying that they can override any of the town bylaws, but in my research, one of the things I came across is that they cannot override 2 state things. One is the environmental protection for wildlife, and the other one is the Board of Health. And the Board of Health can override the zoning board if it has to do with Title V. So if on a Title V, you have to test within a certain area of the project, and they have to meet those guidelines, if they're putting in 8 tanks, they would have to do 8 individual tests. Is that not correct? One for each tank?
Yeah, it all needs to perk.
Correct? And from what was in the report that we've seen, the testing they did was on the opposite end of the land, not even near where the design shows the tanks. So couldn't the Board of Health help us on that?
So the reality is, the only 2 issues that the zoning board of appeals will not decide is whether the project can be permitted under the Wetlands Protection Act, and that's going to be decided by the Conservation Commission, and the Board of Health acting as the local approving authority under Title V. The project has to comply with the state act and regulations, the Wetlands Protection Act, and it has to comply with the Title V, which is the state regulation for septic systems. to the extent that we have a local rule that's more restrictive, either as a wetland bylaw or a health regulation, the developer can refuse to comply with those.
One second, not Jay. Go ahead.
I'm wondering about the capped landfill that's up against this 10 acres, and if we are doing any testing to understand what's there, and I'm very concerned that any sand removal that's up against that 10-acre parcel that's capped, I mean, I don't know the size of that capped landfill, excuse me, but this proposal is, if I look at the map, it abuts that capped landfill from 70s, 80s, and it's got a lot of bad stuff in it. I mean, it's capped for a reason. And the proximity of this project to that, what do we know about that? What do we know about that potentiality there? I mean, even if they never did put anything on this property, what do we know about what's in that landfill that could potentially be Pandora's box should the water level rise from groundwater rising because of climate change? And also we have these unbelievable events every year or so that just dump on us weather and water and all kinds of stuff. So here we have all this stuff, pressure on that one capped landfill. The one that's at the transfer station is also huge. That tends, I think that water tends to go more towards the other end of town, but this water that's on this, I mean, this capped landfill is right next to this projected project, and it's also over our aquifer. And
Well, that's what we're trying to determine with the experts.
I mean, is that in the expert that you're gonna hire, is there anybody in town that tests either the one that's at the dump, or I call it the dump, I'm sorry, I'm old, the transfer station, or this one that was Sylvester Ray's? I mean, I was a kid, I saw the stuff going in there, and it wasn't good stuff. And we don't know, we just don't know. And if we were to find out what's there, wouldn't that give us a leg to stand on to protect this? And then lastly, I have another question. How do we purchase this so we can make this guy go away? Finally. He's a thorn in the town side. He's a nightmare to live next to. Never mind. I won't disparage his character, but the way he takes care of that property is disgraceful. And it's been going on for way too long. Again, how do we get that land in the town protected? Because you bought all this other land in town, including my family home, for watershed protection. You brought Matuxet Woods for watershed protection. You brought all kinds of places around for watershed protection. How do we get this done?
Those are all things that we have been discussing.
Can we buy time? Do we just keep battering town hall at these meetings to buy time so the DPW can purchase this land?
That's what that letter's gonna ask.
Well, you know,
But I mean us, what do we do?
I'm
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, go to town, go
Well,
to
the thing
meetings,
is,
raise a ruckus.
the abutters
Okay.
have the ability to file suit. That's what the abutters did in Stowe.
Yeah, so we've got to find a lawyer, so we've got to get that on us.
Right, could you let people know what we actually said, what we're asking the consultant who offered proposals to us, what the points that we're pushing forward?
Basically, look at the aquifer that those three wells are in. We are particularly concerned about how this area acts because it could be a confining situation there because of the clay that might be in the
Yeah.
area and just.
There's a lot of clay.
It's all clay.
Right,
Well, it's not-
Once the sand is gone,
Yeah.
yeah.
right, so I mean, those types of things would, might change the interpretation of the groundwater flow, and especially with this 10,000 gallons of wastewater. So, it's a hydrogeologist and their other professional staff
But again, how do we test that area for what's there now?
Well, we gotta go in, and they're gonna recommend putting a well here, a well here, a well here, take samples, see what's there. We
We're
should
not-
benchmark.
We're not doing that already
We
for
have,
the
our
capital?
transfer station, and our landfill is tested, quarterly.
Okay, that's what I'm asking.
Right.
Now, is that this, what about the one that's right next, that's under the solar field? Is that tested at all?
So that's the raised landfill.
Yeah,
I think we've done one test, on an existing well at the base of the, base of that, which was
What-
down gradient, and we didn't find anything.
what was the elevation though, compared to what this, because I mean,
So it should be assessed, and the hydrogeologist will recommend what we should be putting in, and, you know, how many we should be putting in, and, where, how do you define the groundwater flow, all of that.
right, I get
He's
it.
gotta put those,
The
he's
whole
gotta give us a
thing. So-
recommendation.
So what we asked the consultant to do is give us their capabilities of creating a conceptual site model. That's what DEP calls. When
Right.
you're doing a site, you determine what a conceptually, what's it look like? Where the different layers are, what's coming in, where's it going, what's the rate?
Isn't that
what's-
what Doug
what's
Little
in-
did once?
Huh?
Didn't Doug Little do something like this for the previous project?
No,
That was about
we have
15.
somebody that needs to be an expert that could actually
We do
testify
have-
from the expertise.
We do have studies, hydraulic studies, when we did the zone 2. There's been a number of zone 2s, that'll be all, to this hydrogeologist to kind of look and see what we're at.
And we also need to get sampling, all around the property, by the landfills. We need to get
Yeah.
really get to
Okay.
know what it is. That's why this board is really pushing to ask for in the letter, that we need additional time to hire a consultant and know what we're looking at and to determine what the effect is going to be. So that's that, and then basically that's as far as we can go.
But we can demand more time, can we do
I
it?
have a comment to add to that.
Then take it to gentleman at the front.
And there is a time limit that this has to be closed by,
Like 6 months, right?
soon, I think. So we're asking in the letter for the ZBA to give us more time, but the applicant is gonna need to kind of go along with that, which is where it's important for residents to show up and let him see you.
Oh, you bet.
And let him see his neighbors, his, fellow Marshfield people.
He's
being
not in this
very,
room.
upset and,
You don't wanna be.
well, everything's videotaped. And it's, the ZBA is also on Zoom, so he can be sure that he's definitely watching the meetings if he doesn't have them.
Will we ever see what's in the
Birthday.
purchase and sale agreement, so we know what he needs for money? What's the
No.
price? What's the dollar amount he needs to make him go away?
I don't know that we may see it at some point, but we're not entitled to it now.
Did you say we're not entitled to it? I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's.
In the front.
Right
Because I
now.
have it in writing that we are.
I have several questions. I was kind of taken back by
Can
Mr.
you give us a
Shaughnessy's
name?
statement.
Name it.
Named John Romero, 508 Ferry Street, Marshfield. I have a lot of things I wanted to bring up. Laura Olson brought up a great thing on the Title V, under 310, CMR 15, and I just want to go through a few things. One, like I said, I was kind of taken back by what Mr. Shaughnessy said. We're at the Board of Public Works, and I thought coming here that we could give recommendations to the board that would then be reflected with their statement to the ZBA. And I was kind of taken back because you're saying that essentially you can recommend things to the ZBA, but they have final say. So if you're saying there could be a slight possibility based on PFAS, based on the nitrogen septic systems that they're going to put in, and that this could contaminate the water, pretty much the zoning board could say, well, hey guys, great, thank you for giving us that information, but we're going to let this project go through. Essentially, that's what you're saying. So you can only give recommendations. So what we say here you forward to them, and they have final say of everything, correct? Okay, I just want to clarify that. So really, we're kind of venting to you, you know, because
No,
when
I
we
get
vent to
that.
them, they go, yeah, yeah,
It's
sure,
very frustrating
whatever.
to be on this side of the chair.
No, and I appreciate every one of you here to listen, okay?
What we can do, what we can't do.
All right, so 2016, when this was going to be, I think it was soccer fields, there was a scientist brought in that did testing of the water to find out where the flow was, which I believe was northeasterly. I went through and read that of the flow of the aquifer of where the water is going, okay?
So let me stop there.
Yep,
Water flow,
changes,
when you have 3 wells,
yep,
means, depends on what well's pulling
Yeah,
at
it's
what
Right,
time.
all
right.
yeah.
So basically, you're looking at, groundwater flow going this way.
Yep.
When you're stopping, especially in a drought,
100%
you're
correct.
sucking everything.
Yep.
You know?
Depending on the demand and what's
Well,
going on
absolutely.
and rain, et cetera. So I get that. We have 5 test sites right now, correct? On that, I believe there's 5 test ports on that property right now.
Well, I would know that.
I believe 5?
I don't know exactly.
Yeah, I think on the print they show 5. I went back looking through it, so.
You're talking about those,
The te-
they're, I'll call them like 1-inch wells, those wells were just in there for water level, it was on the plan, is that what you're referring to?
They have existing 4-inch PVC pipe monitoring well number 4, existing 4-inch PVC pipe monitoring well number 1.
Was that Rosalie and Witten's,
This is on Grady Consulting, who, I'll just comment to you guys, since this
okay,
began,
well, I don't know who put those wells in.
Okay.
It's okay for water level purposes, but I mean, from any kind of analysis or anything, I don't know how they were put in, how they were developed, the sampling and all that.
No, well, the only reason I ask is one of the things I was coming here this evening for was to give recommendations to the Board of Public Works that, you know, if eventually the zoning board has final say, and say there are 5 well test sites right now, their project's 10 acres. They're gonna put, 8 septics in, okay? In future use, if this project goes through, I would, you know, ask the board to recommend to the ZBA that for each septic, there be a monitoring well. If there's 8 and we have 10 acres, why not 10? Right now, there's 5 that, I don't know who put them there, but why not have 10? Because this is above a crucial aquifer too, within 2,000 feet or 2,100 feet. So the points I wanted to bring up to you guys, and I don't want to take everybody's time up, but the system that they have in there for the septics is a biokinetic system that breaks everything down. It's an electrical septic system for the most part. The testing that Laura Olson brought up, the test sites are assumed a proposed test site for the leaching. If you go into the laws and read through it, and please, Attorney Galvin, correct me if I'm wrong, okay? Under 310 CMR 15, the main objective of a Title V inspection is to evaluate the septic system's impact on the surrounding environment. I think we fall within that realm, correct? Okay? So, we haven't created the septic system. They've submitted forms to the ZBA from a company based out of Ohio, okay? There are distributors in this area. There are only 2. One in Norton, one in Hingham. So they got to purchase it from Norton or Hingham. They can't get it from Ohio. With that, the system has to be maintained, monitored, and installed by installers who are authorized through that company. Okay? The inspection rate on that system is once every 6 months. I believe, because they're using 40B, this board or the ZBA can still implement, because we're above this aquifer, the water table. The job of the ZBA and the government of this town, with all the laws that they put into effect, is to protect the people of this town. If that water gets infected, guess what? We're not protected. I understand what the state says, but the state law on 310.15 says it's to protect the environment. It says one of the most important things checked are environmental setbacks, wells, reservoirs, groundwater table, and then it goes on with a bunch of verbiage in the same aspect. So I come here to say to the board, I have a million things to bring up, but that is probably the most crucial, is that we implement different testing strategies on that site. Those systems that they want to put in are electrical. Okay, I already know because I've inquired in other projects that they did, because they in order to put that system in, some of the other town boards, ZBA said, well, we want generators. You have 8 systems, we want 8 separate generators in order to kick them in. They kind of circumvented and went over that in the way that they had the state, through 40B, say they could have a 48-hour retainage. If the power went down, they could have a 48-hour retainage. Okay, look back in history how many times we've gone over, I did, 48 hours. It's more than once. All we need is one mess up, okay? These are little things, and if, correct me, Attorney Galvin, the ZBA can implement to protect the people in this town contingencies that we need a generator, different things as testing, as far as, how about these are electrical components that can go down. I would think it should be required that if they're gonna put this in, that they supply, okay, parts that are on site, so they don't have to be ordered, so we're not affecting the water of this town. The other thing I think that if it is allowed, and I don't know legally, I think they should have to post a surety bond, okay, that the town holds, that they state for 10 years they'll pay in, whether it be monthly or yearly. If town water does not get affected, within 10 years, they can take their money back. Yes. Sorry.
You've made a lot of good points.
Mhm.
Do you have them in writing that we?
I do.
Actually, we
I
can
do.
include them in the letter that we go to the ZBA?
I
More
do.
than happy to take those points, give them to the superintendent and town engineer, and we're looking to make sure that we're covered. But the bottom line is that we don't have the standing of being a separate entity. It's all through the ZBA. So this letter that we have to send to the ZBA tomorrow needs to say, we need more time, and we need to get an expert, and we need to formulate the conditions that we're looking for, and we'll add those ones to the letter.
And the conditions, the ZBA has a very delicate position that they're in with regard to conditions. Because if it, as Attorney Galvin pointed out, if it becomes too expensive for the developer to meet those conditions, they can appeal it to the housing authority, who will vacate the conditions, because they always do.
So there's a certain percentage under 40B, that if they're doing apartments to condos, how much they can actually make, correct, under the law?
It's valued two different ways.
Okay.
One is the return on total costs,
Yep.
and that's for a condominium for sale project. And I forgot the exact technical name for apartments, but, it's extremely difficult. The margins are not great, and a developer can propose a project that's already uneconomic to begin with. And if it becomes significantly more uneconomic,
Then 40B can say,
the Housing Appeals Committee can void those conditions.
okay. Then the other question I wanted to ask you was when we were at the ZBA meeting the other time, we had asked a question regarding this, that they're writing in on Armstrong's permit, correct?
No,
Okay, so they have to file a whole new permit,
They
which
did.
they did? They
correct.
have 6 months from that date, correct?
Yeah, 6 months from the December opening of the public hearing.
Okay, so that puts us into June. Okay.
That doesn't mean the board takes the whole time, but that's the time that's allotted to them.
Then from the time, if we get into June and say there's an approved project, then what is the time from there? Are there other requirements that they have
The
to
Board
meet?
of Appeals has 40 days to draft a decision from the close of the public hearing, regardless of when that hearing is closed. And then the developer has 20 days to file a lawsuit with the Housing Appeals Committee if they're upset with the conditions.
Yep.
And abutters have 20 days to file under Chapter 48, Section 17, with the Superior Court, Land Court, or Housing Court.
Okay.
Could I just
Go
ask,
right ahead.
I don't know what the situation with the land is now.
Can you have
But-
your name and address?
Oh, I'm sorry. Nancy Ahern, I live on Prince Rogers Way in Marshfield.
Go
Okay. I'm curious to know, with the land as it stands now, whatever kind of,
Okay, will you-
I'm
Assessments?
having trouble hearing her.
Wait a
So,
minute,
you
wait a
just
minute.
repeat it, sorry.
okay.
Hold on.
Repeat what? My name?
No,
No,
every,
No, your
Oh.
We
question.
can't hear you because
No,
they
it's
were
okay.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I usually
No,
get
no, no.
complaints because
it's
I'm
not
loud.
you, it's
I
those
apologize.
two.
Oh, okay. Anyhow, I'm curious to find out, the state of the land as it is now will not be as it is when they're going to build. So if testing is being done on the land now, with all of the sand still there, which serves as a big filtration system, since all of that sand is going to be taken away, from what I understand, as part of this project, they want to sell all that sand, which is the filtration. So, I mean, is it going to perk for 8 septic systems once all of that sand is gone? And are we going to test it pre-sand, post-sand? I mean, the whole nature of that land will change once all of that sand is removed. And it will also impact, like Mary was saying, the other areas will now start to shift when the land is dramatically changed. So I'm just wondering, when you talk about a consultant, I would think it would be a water supply engineer. I mean, I don't know what we're talking about, but
Water supply engineering firm and a hydrogeologist.
yay!
That's what we're doing, yeah.
I heard only hydrogeologic and I didn't know quite what that was, but that's the same as a water supply
Well,
engineer?
no, it's different, but it's.
But they work together.
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, back to the point of, if this affects the whole town, why is it just abutters? Because we are all going to be impacted by this.
Maybe if it shows in the consultant's reports that it would affect the whole town, would that change who could file suit? Attorney
Probably
Galvin?
not, no.
It
Why
wouldn't.
not? Why
No,
can't
it
we
would-
change things?
You're asking me why the law is the way it is?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
It's the
I don't
law.
like the law any better than anybody else.
Yeah.
Okay, so the reality is, abutters are the ones that are presumptive standing. People that are directly and adversely impacted also potentially have standing. That's the way it is.
People that
So
don't
it's
have
different
water.
Yeah,
than
all the
standing
town.
All the
of
town.
The rest of the town, if the whole water supply.
It's
were-
unlikely that somebody that lived across town would have standing.
No, but you can go through that whole area that's served by that aquifer and say how many people are relying on this area for their clean water supply, and I would think they could all file a lawsuit.
Well, they could try.
I'm just gonna say that, go right ahead.
Jeanette Dronzek, 44 Church Street. When I purchased my home 19 years ago, there was a 7-acre parcel that the family also owned. The town purchased those 7 acres between my home and the pumping station on Church Street. It's also next to the old sand pits, and if you
Yes.
want to know what
Latch
that land's
pits.
gonna look like,
Yeah,
go in those old sand pits, and it is all clay.
yeah.
And that's what they'll
That's
end
what
up
I'm
with.
saying, yeah.
And the
It won't
water
work.
table changed across the street after that was
Right.
done. The other issue that I want to remind everyone is, how many projects have we paid 600, 500,000 through the whole town trying to save our water?
Right.
And we've seen the detrimental effects from the building in Telegraph Hill, when they stripped all those trees at the top of Holly Road, my basement flooded.
It
As
changes
soon as it
everything.
changes everything.
Everything
So
shifts.
just looking at how much money our town has spent to preserve the walking trails, to preserve our water, and we're gonna let one project undo all of that. It's insanity. We're the only town on the South Shore that has the magnificent water supply that we have. We have to preserve it.
Which
No,
is
none of
the
us
event.
want to let it
Yeah.
happen. So that's what we're, trying to
Thank
work
you.
and talk about with everybody.
And along,
Go ahead, stand up, what's your name?
Marcia Ballou, 712 Ferry Street. When I moved here 30-some-odd years ago, one of the things that impressed us was the water. And one of the things that we saw, that was a preservation committee, a board, a plan to preserve the water of Marshfield, and for the whole town of Marshfield. And it was impressive that aquifers and wells and runoff areas were identified. And it was a beautiful wetland area of natural resource. And a great effort was done. I think this was 2000, I don't remember when the actual date was, and I don't know what committee built that, put that together. But it's
Warren Harrington,
it's a
conservation.
It was conservation and.
it's a fabulous report, and it seems that it would serve as, we're talking about all the research and the effort that everyone is going toward to stop this 40B project that doesn't need to be there. It could be, if Marshfield needs a 40B project, let's find them another spot. This is, and all the things that we would have to do to make sure that it doesn't contaminate our water for the whole town.
Right.
And I'm thinking of all of us, but the town did something many years ago to prevent exactly this. And I know that it's just in the past couple of years, substantial amount of CPA money has been used to buy, as you say, pieces of property to preserve that. And that was the main argument at town meeting, that we're buying this land to preserve this piece of property. And it seems to me that we can use this as an argument to say to this developer, you're trying to put a square peg in a round hole, sir, go someplace else. And to Armstrong, knock it off.
Doesn't care, it's disgusting.
But we should be able to use this report. I mean, I don't know when I last saw it, but it's a beautiful, even a drawing of the aquifers.
Yeah, it's
That,
there.
and it's, I don't know where it is now, but it's, someone did a very wonderful thing for Marshfield. And I think that should be resurrected and used as the basis for all of your arguments as a committee, your committee, to say no, legally, no, we've already discussed this, asked and answered, sir. And, you know, it just,
And that's what's going to be in the letter tomorrow that we're sending to the ZBA. The issue is that under the comprehensive law, the developer only has to go to one board, and that's the ZBA.
Can you give,
And they speak for the whole town.
can you remind that ZB, because the ZBA may not be.
They already know what they're, you know.
We're up against it.
We're gonna go around in a circle and around a circle. I mean, you get your bullets to us, we're gonna write a letter, we're gonna hire a consultant, we're gonna ask for more time, and we're gonna get the technical arguments to protect ourselves. I've been on this board for many, many years. I've been on the open space committee for many, many years of buying land and trying to protect protect ourselves from ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, and the bottom line is that we're all on the same page, but I'm trying to be as truthful as I can with everybody, that, you know, we only can push, it's my understanding from the legal basis, we only can push what we want and our distaste and opposition to the ZBA, and we can't go any further than that. But the abutters can, as Attorney Galvin had said, there's a time component to it. So we need to organize the abutters for a strategy where we move from going forward.
I have a comment. The ZBA is looking for, everybody's communicating about this. Like, the ZBA is looking to the DPW and the Board of Public Works for information on, you know, what the engineers and like everybody over here's kind of expertise, not mine. But, because they don't know, you know what I mean? So it's not like we're gonna suggest to the ZBA with this letter that these conditions, you know, we wanna have, we're gonna hire this consultant and these conditions are what we feel are important. They're not gonna say, no, bad idea, you know what I mean? But like I said before, they're in a delicate position with what conditions they choose to put on the developer. Because really it's a request, kind of the developer who could just appeal it and refuse it. Everybody is on the same page.
I have another weird question. just real quick, 40B a moratorium put on 40B projects for a while for some reason? Did-
No, it falls to the walls with 40B, sorry.
Really?
Yeah, it's never had a moratorium.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Marshfield?
Jenny Pitts, 690 Berry Street. I have a question with regard to who can be considered in a butter. So is there a way to identify what areas of town these aquifers serve so that we can identify people who can say we will specifically be harmed by changes to the aquifers by this project? So for example, if you're not an immediate abutter, but your household water is coming from one of these wells that, as opposed to someone at the other end of town who's served by a different well. I'm looking to find the largest pool of people who can be considered, who would have standing. Is there a way to determine that?
Town engineer.
Yes.
Okay. How do we get that information?
You can, in general, it's the Little's Creek Aquifer that we're talking about. And it is on the town website if you go on
Right.
the GIS.
Okay,
It may not be labeled that though.
okay.
It's a high zone, Bud?
What do you got?
It's a high zone versus the low zone.
The Church Street, I believe, is capable of going in both zones.
Yeah, okay.
I think it now, it was in the low zone.
Ferry 1 and 2 is on high zone?
Ferry 1 and 2 are, they were low zones.
Low zones.
What does that mean, high zone and low zone?
It's just that, there's a, as you go into North Marshfield, there's slightly higher elevations. And so those wells are designed to pump into those higher elevations, whereas the low zone, they're designed to pump into lower level. Some of them can cross over, depending on the water superintendent, how he wants to divide it up and what his demands are and what is supplied, how, the supply might be offline for cleaning. So he kind of regulates, where they all go, but some of them you go both ways. But yeah, it's on the
So it
website.
delineates the section
It
of town?
shows the
Okay.
line, and you can pick all the properties. It would be, right around, the border is kind of the top of Telegraph Hill, and then it goes, I think, to
Kent Pond?
Holly Hill,
Okay.
up around Holly Hill, on the kind of on the peak there.
Okay.
It captures a little creek, and it goes up to about the top of Carolina Hill. And
Ames
it's
Way.
Pretty much a circle,
Yeah.
Ames Way, yeah, pretty much a circle all the way down. And it overlaps the Furnace Brook Aquifer too as well, and also the Fairgrounds Aquifer. I think there might be some overlapping. Since we developed the new Fairgrounds well and Ferry 2, it kind of pushed into the other Zone 2s. The Zone 2 is basically the area where if we didn't have any recharge and we were pumping for 180 days, that's how far-reaching the wells would kind of take in that water that percolates into the ground. And so they kind of want to protect that area. It's kind of the maximum extent. So it's like a drought for 180 days. So that's kind of a circle from those points.
What kind of lawyer do we need? Land court,
I don't know.
trust?
When nature
I
conserves.
think
That's where we're going.
Heather Emmett, 353 Pleasant Street. It was related to that basically, so is the end goal, if we got the extension and did the hydrogeological stratigraphic mapping and all that, are we looking for a violation of the Clean Water Act? Does the Clean Water Act trump 40B?
The project has to comply with state and federal laws, no matter what. So there's a federal Clean Water Act and a state Clean Water Act. So the
Right.
project has to comply in every respect with those two laws.
And the abutters, are they group form a pact? Could they,
They could if they want.
so if you're not, you're not in the butter, but you want to be in the butter, and the court says you're not in the butter, you could form a pact with the abutters.
All right, good. Thank you.
Question.
Well, it's a money issue. The more,
Right,
the
yeah.
bigger the
Yeah.
group,
And then hire someone.
Yeah, so they could form a pact.
So the butters are the front people, and everybody else should help, can help
So that's something
support that.
maybe
So-
you
It
want
gets
to.
Now, I had a question,
Go ahead.
in on the wording of that, because I had read somewhere I don't know if it was Stowe or whatever, they had, the people of the town had taken a developer before HUD or HAC, and there was a fee that, because they went to HAC or HUD, that if they find, HAC or HUD finds that the developer is within quote-unquote compliance, or that the people are wasting their time, I thought there was a $50,000 fee that would be attached to it, that they can go to the people who are protesting, and I didn't know if Attorney Galvin knew of anything like that or heard of that before.
Yeah, there's a requirement now in the law that where the developer can ask the court to impose a bond on the people that are appealing.
50,000, I think, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
Wow,
Yeah.
nice.
So it gives, so everybody knows, it gives the developer who's riding the 40B magic carpet, okay, the ability to say, well, you can take me to HUD or HAC,
Yeah, but you
but
give
we're
me
gonna
50
spank you
grand,
and
yeah.
give you a $50,000 fine. So it just means that if he goes there, you could win or you could not win, or who has 50,000 and wants to go against him.
I don't have $100 to put towards this, so this is the issue.
I'm a
the only-
gambling guy. I take my 50 grand cash against Sealand's
I-
dirty money any day. Excuse me, I
I
shouldn't
got,
say that.
I got, who in this room actually got a letter from ZBA?
Nobody.
Nobody.
Me. That's
Yeah.
it.
The issue I have with the ZBA is it's kind of hands in on this. I feel for them, and I'll say it openly in public, I'll say it to anyone, for the reason being, they're trying to meet requirements to protect this town on the 40B, and I get it. So our percentage right now in the town of Marshfield is what, 9.4, 9.6, somewhere in that area, okay? So for .50, we're gonna sell out to get a 10% to look good and the 1.5 on the land. That's gonna ride 1 to 2 years, and guess what? This town is developing at such a great pace that we're gonna be okay and good for 1 to 2 years, and then we're gonna be back in front of a board like you or in front of the ZBA with another project. The issue with Marshfield is we have wetlands, we have all kinds of ocean and stuff around us, that there's not enough land, so we're never gonna be in compliance with 40B. 40B from 1969 has been updated how many times? A couple. That's it. So in '69, I wasn't on my cell phone, I can tell you that. We're in 2024 right now, and everything's moving like this. That's what it is. We will never be within compliance except for a short period of time. It's an antiquated way for these guys who are money hungry, who want to line their pockets. If you're taking out 150,000, 155,000 yards, okay, of soil, and you're selling it, we'll just say at an average of 150,000 per cubic yard, it's $23 million in mining. It's simple math. You don't have to be a genius on this. Then the other thing is that if they put their money in, which they've worked hard for their money, they put these apartments in, who cares about management? Is the money going back to them? Are they holding? Are they getting paid for the apartments they're renting? Are they owning that property and renting the apartments out? It's money, money, money. I said it at the ZBA, I'll say it here and I'll lay it down. It's greed. Disgusting greed. And for someone like Mr. Sealand, and I shouldn't call him Mr. Kevin Sealand, who lives in this town, you are urinating in your backyard and you don't care. And same thing with Armstrong. 2001 to present day, he's trying to beat a dead dog. The dog's dead. Let it go. The right thing would have been to turn around and give the town the land, or turn around and say, hey, match me, give me a percentage of what they're doing, the land's yours. And then allow conservation and you guys to do your thing. If you walked, when that property was there, and I bought my house 23 years ago, I used to take my dog, because there wasn't, Laura Olson was building her house, gave me the ability to walk back there with my dog, and it was beautiful. You could walk around, it was pristine. Go back there now, you'll see what pristine is, from rotted tires to gas cans to fiberglass to everything thrown around. And that stuff, if you go, we have 2 drainage areas in there. Take a walk back there and take a look and see what's in the drainage pits. It's nothing good. I said I wouldn't get emotional, but that's the Italian in me. So anyway, sorry.
Thank you. Are we all set?
100% with your motion.
I do too.
I think a lot of people in this
We all
room
do,
do.
yeah.
And we're all,
Okay.
we're frustrated. So if you could give the superintendent your
Thank you
point.
for your
we'll do
time.
that.
Thank you.
Can I just ask, why does the zoning board of appeal not have to let people know about these projects well before they're this far down the road? I mean, isn't there some responsibility there to tell the citizens, this is something we're considering? This is something on the table before it shows up and it's like a fait accompli, which is usually how things come, even to town meetings, anywhere. They're kind of done.
It's all posted, Marshfield website, you know, that, I mean,
But the Marshfield
Public-
website
Right, I
navigationally
know.
is terrible.
I mean, that's why I try to put things.
You
on.
are
Thank you.
doing that,
Thank
which
you.
is very much appreciated.
Right.
But I think every single office should do that.
I agree.
I don't understand why I
I
was
agree
the
with
only one
George.
notified.
But,
But that's
um,
water
that's-
under the
That's
bridge.
the legal thing, is that it gets
So I'm the
posted.
only one that can bring a lawsuit? I'm the only abutter?
Just you and doing the big
Is there a
50
list of the abutters?
The assessor's office produced a list of the butters.
It was in the
They were given
agenda.
notice, and then it was published in the newspaper.
I mean, we're gonna drink the water eventually.
All right, we need to move on.
No, that's fine. I say my piece.
No, what we get now is a 5-minute break. Take a 5-minute break.
So my father is a water commissioner.
Okay, road acceptance policy. What are we gonna do here? Rod, what do we do with this road acceptance?
Well, the road acceptance policy hasn't been accepted yet. I would suggest that a board member probably meet with a planning board member, with myself and Greg Guimond, and kind of go over the issues. A couple of issues were, are we gonna include the sidewalks? Are we gonna include the drainage? Are we going to accept the fact that they're taking an easement over these lands, the road layout, whatever, the drainage, and not take the fee in the road or the fee in the drainage lot? That's the current policy as proposed. And we've never accepted it. There was a bunch of questions, and so we're at this point where I think either a single board member would meet with us and go over the issues, and then maybe come to a consensus, go back to the board, and maybe we can, accept the policy or ask to modify the policy or whatever.
Well, who's updated this, is this updated now?
The policy was provided by town council,
Okay.
and it's never been accepted to my knowledge.
Selectmen have never given us any money either to accept all these roads.
The only thing that we have determined is that the state, under the Chapter 90 reimbursement, the funding, is determined whether or not it was eligible for Chapter 90 reimbursement. As long as it's an official policy, it's adopted by the town, then it would qualify. You don't have to take the fee in the road. That was our big question, because in the past, we used to take the fee in the road, and when we asked the state officials, they, at the time, said, well, we don't know, we're gonna check with our legal, and then finally, we got some response saying that if it's an official, it's a policy that's been adopted by the town, that it would be acceptable to just take an easement over the road, as opposed to taking the fee, and it would be eligible. So we got past that.
So we don't have a road acceptance policy right now.
We have one, it hasn't been changed since.
We haven't changed, but we haven't accepted any roads.
We haven't accepted.
And we haven't got any money from the town. So why should we, correct me if I'm wrong, but why should we be accepting more roads, letting people think that they got a public road, and we're never gonna do anything with it?
Yeah, but they're paying taxes.
So I get that, I agree, John, they're paying taxes, and we should be getting more money from the town. By accepting every road in town, it doesn't really affect our formula that much, does it?
It's a good increase. You mean chapter 90 wise?
Versus the liability?
I mean, you do have a subdivision policy, correct? In town, I mean, you build roads to a certain standard.
Right.
If they're built to that standard, you should be able to accept what they feel you do.
Yeah, the way that it is right now, the associations are formed and they're supposed to maintain it, but they're not really maintaining it.
Correct, and that's a big problem.
Right.
We're finding that out with a new road, Adelaide Way, they haven't finished that. There's no top coat, we can't plow the road for them.
So the idea that somebody had suggested is that when a new road comes up, if we are gonna move in that advance, that we would take the new roads and we take the roads that are in good condition first. And then figure out, you know, maybe the town would give us some more money at some point, and then we'll take
I
the
mean,
roads that are needed.
the last town meeting,
Or go to, or do betterments or something.
Betterments.
we're gonna have to do something. I mean, the bottom line is, that the last town meeting, I mean, Dave Carrier, you know, instead of doing the bus, the beach bus, we got the money for the roads. I mean, bottom line is, the town, the selectmen, they don't support the roads. They don't support the roads. They weren't even supporting the roads on the unaccepted roads. I mean, the dirt roads. And it's been a fight since 2000, whenever.
I will say we've gained on that. We do receive money for the upkeep of some of the roads.
Yeah.
And what it does is it preserves them to a point where we can actually travel on it.
We used to get, in 2004, 2005, about $250,000 every year
Right.
for roads, in 2004, 2005. We don't get that now.
I get $100,000 plus $70,000 for the repairs of gravel roads.
And that's $170,000, that's not $250,000.
No.
And back then, we used to get $30,000 for unpaved roads and $30,000 for, so it was 60, so it was like 300 and something thousand. That was in 2004 prices.
The bottom line is, like every other town, we're running into a crossroads. We use that, whichever we get with, of some money we get, $250,000, $100,000, we use that to preserve the roads that are not accepted by chapter 90. In hopes that maybe someday down the road we can accept some of them, like Rod said, the better ones, of course, because they already meet subdivision standard. If we don't keep doing that, if we don't start taking some of these roads and accepting them under chapter 90, they're gonna fall apart.
They are falling
Bottom
apart.
line. So, some of the ones that aren't gonna meet subdivision standards and will not be accepted by chapter 90, we need to get additional money from the town to repair them if we have it. Probably more than $100,000, I'd like to get the $250 if we could.
So we just did a section of Forest Street, from School Street to Furnace. What did that cost us?
$168,000?
That's one road in town.
Yeah.
And that's just an overlay, right?
It's a mill and overlay.
Mill and overlay. And what did it cost us from 3A to Furnace, from 3A over to
About 180 grand.
180? So so that's more money than we have. I mean, I'm just saying, but now you get into all the subdivision roads that are actually falling apart. I mean, that's the whole issue of 2000, when Jeb DeLoach was here, that we forced the planning board to come up with associations so that they actually can deal with it themselves. I mean, it's very, very expensive. And from my perspective, and I voted for it, is that I don't want to lie to people from the standpoint that we'll take your road, but we're never going to do anything with it. Whereas if you had an association, you can deal with all the neighbors to do that. I mean, to put an abetment on it, there'll be a big outcry. Oh, it's chapter 90, my gas tax, and I go both ways on it. I mean, it's not an easy answer.
You gotta do something.
I know we have to do something. I mean,
whichever direction we decide to go.
I think we need to take a look at it and have a discussion on it.
I agree with Rod that the roads that are being built recently and meet subdivision standard, we should start thinking about accepting them.
Well, at least we'll get some money.
You will get some money, you get over $5,000 a mile.
Some is better than none.
And how much does it cost a mile to fix?
The mill overlay,
Yeah.
that's every 20, 25 years, about $1.80.
180,000?
Yeah.
So what's our return investment? It's a negative.
It's negative no matter which way.
Yeah,
you
no matter
look
what
at
you
it.
It's always gonna.
Whichever way you look at it,
Yeah.
it's gonna come up with a plan.
What's the next move?
I think that is, because, I mean, there's no other way to go. There's no other option.
I think, when I first got here, I did a lot of the road maintenance. We do have a road maintenance program, and we have been following it, and we're almost at that curve where we've got a lot of our main roads done, and we can just do general maintenance on instead of mill and overlay. Then we can tackle some of the neighborhoods. But I think we need to keep going in the direction we're going in. Take care of our main arteries first, and always, and one of my top priorities going into capital budget season is to obtain that $250,000, $100,000 road reconstruction money. It's very, very important for us to keep going in that direction, to maintain. I like to keep going in that direction. And I think if, like I said, what Rod said, if we can capture some of these roads that are in good shape, at least we're moving in the right direction.
In 20 years, we're gonna be, and those roads will be in the same predicament as a lot of the
You
other
don't
ones.
maintain them, yeah.
You know?
Well, I can meet with you, Rod, if you want to meet with Greg and yourself. Just go over
I
it.
guess you got, we should come to a consensus at some point, and I think that we could just talk it over with planner.
I think the planner wants all our roads to be accepted.
Right.
Yes, you know, we've been in opposition with him for 20 years.
It's the policy right now that we need to.
Need a policy.
Land on.
I agree.
Do we agree with it? Do they agree with it? Can we get to the policy part? You can accept the roads, you can accept the new policy. You don't have to accept the new roads at this point.
Right, you have to have a policy in place to,
Yeah. Do you agree with the
that.
policy? Do we need to change the policy? Can at least get, because this is, our attorney handed this to us and said, this is a current state-of-the-art type policy that's, you know, other towns are using, and it does meet the chapter 90 requirements, so we should adopt it. Okay, so before there was discussion about, well, should we accept the sidewalk? Should we accept the drainage systems? I mean, there was a lot of discussion, and that's why there was no final decision on the board, because it was some unanswered questions.
So on this particular policy that you present, are we going to take over the drainage system, the sidewalks, and the
I
road?
would say you would, the drainage is part of the road.
So we're taking the whole network over.
Taking whatever they put in that road to treat the drainage, and then where does it go?
it's
And
long as
that's
it
not,
meets-
there's no, that, it's all or nothing is the policy?
It has to meet subdivision standard. In other words, the drainage has to be the right drainage. The sidewalks have to be in.
Right, but we can't take part of it and
No.
not the whole,
It's
it's all or
not all or
nothing.
nothing, you can change the policy, you can,
Okay,
I mean, I
but that's
think-
what's suggested.
But you
This
want it
is
to be
what
to a
you-
certain standard, am I right?
Right.
The bottom line is if we accept a road, we're going to accept everything that goes along, the road and all the parentheses, the sidewalk, the drainage, the whole bit. If we accept a road that has a lot of flaws to it, shame on us, because we're going to be on the hook. And as you hear, behind the eight ball no matter what we do, from a financial standpoint. There's not enough money in the Chapter 90 fund that come in, because we had, the previous boards always said, we're doing the main roads and the feeder roads. And then every so often, we do some of the neighborhood roads when they really get bad. And basically, it's on a vote by the board on those tertiary roads.
I'll meet with you, Rod.
Okay.
Pick a time next
I'll
week.
see if I can meet with
Yeah.
Greg and maybe go over, do you have a copy of the policy?
Yeah, I got it right here.
We should go over the policy, Sean, and, take
That's
Greg.
this, but in,
Yeah, this,
And then come back,
you
report
just
to
put
the
it
board.
in, yeah, I took it out, so I don't want to
Yeah,
take this whole book home.
Right, I got it.
So I
Okay,
don't wanna take that.
you all set, and move on to the next?
Yeah.
Okay, you're all set, Rod, anyhow, I don't think you have anything else to do. No, you're good. Thank you.
Oh,
See you, Rod, thanks so much, okay.
Thank you, Rod.
Thank you.
Okay, we got the, number 2 is the contract regarding trash and recycling containers. What we're gonna do,
Yeah,
Kenny,
so,
that's you.
yes, so I wanted to give an update where it was, I think, in May, late spring, where we talked about going with, trying to get a grant from the DEP to get carts for everybody, for trash collection. It took a while, but we did get approval for that at the end of September. So we were told that we could get $292,740. What that represents is $30 per cart per household. The carts are $48, so we have to come up with $18 more. We're trying to figure out what our retained earnings are in all of the enterprise funds, but with the transfer of the treasurer and everybody in town hall, we haven't gotten a number yet. So the next step is to really find out what we have for certified retained earnings, so we can figure out if we can take that $18 per cart out of the retained earnings, and we don't have to do anything with the existing solid waste fee. So once I get that information, I'll come back and figure out where we're gonna go moving forward.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
As long as we don't go below the threshold that we have as reserve.
Correct.
We go negative, and then the town has to loan us.
I'd rather see a one-time fee or something to do that versus trying to go negative, because, I don't wanna burn the whole budget, by giving everybody a check and then find out a year later that, we need it all back.
Right.
Especially because a lot of people aren't going on them anyway.
Well, they're a 30-gallon bucket compared to what we have now, which most people use 35, 40-gallon bucket. Is it 30, 35?
35 is the ones that we're looking at purchasing.
And we voted for a 39 in the contract, which we could go to 40, but they won't pay for a 40.
They won't pay for anything bigger than 35,
Yeah,
and they
so-
don't make a 39.
Yeah, well, so the ratepayers end up taking it on the chin again, the less trash. But we still haven't got the municipal.
Right,
I need that municipal totes and the dumpsters
yes,
so that we can put it in the offsets.
right,
That might make a difference right there.
right.
Plus the tonnage for the high school
Mhm.
and all the other municipal buildings.
Yep.
Because the ratepayers are paying for it,
Yes,
but we need to put it in the offsets.
yes,
So we're gonna have that.
yes.
We'll pay for it no matter what.
We're waiting for a lot of information.
Yeah.
Well, I know that realness is screwing everything up. But some of this stuff is available from manufacturers of the totes and the dumpsters and every other piece of equipment, but that we supply to the town, and the ratepayers pay for it.
Mhm.
So we can put that in the offsets. It's in the contract.
Yeah,
But we just extrapolated.
you are correct.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, Kenny.
And I had sent you the offset calculation that we did, I think at the beginning of December. I think I sent you that calculation. If you don't have it, I'll get you another
Yeah,
copy
give
of
me
it.
another copy.
Sure.
But the offsets for
For trash. So it was all the, we'll go, best
Yeah,
thing
I'll
would
talk
be
to
for
you.
you and I to sit down and go
Yeah,
over the calculation.
Because it can get confusing.
Yeah, absolutely.
How many trash, customers do we have?
9,633.
10,000? Times 18, how much?
Yes. So if you take the 9,633, it's 172,000.
$72.
Is the 18 times the 9633, yeah.
That's a shortfall, which,
Yes.
so it's a $500,000 venture. Give everybody a ballot.
Yes.
That they can't put a lot of trash.
And then basically, if we go with this, there's no way of going around it. I mean, somebody can say, I don't want the ballot, and just put my regular ballot out.
Right.
Yeah, that was a question I had asked you, can people opt out, but
No.
no. Otherwise,
It'll
you
make
don't get the
it'll
grant.
make it uniform so that
Yeah.
we can
They can opt
clearly
out of I don't need to interrupt you, they can opt out of
collection.
the
Absolutely.
solid waste.
Yes.
Yes, they can.
Yes.
Right, they can,
get
they don't have
completely out
to
of
use the trash
program.
pickup.
Right.
And they get their own.
They get their own.
Right.
And it's getting to the point where they might.
We've actually
Is
had a
it-
bunch
is it-
come back.
Really?
Yes.
The other MDS and them are going
Yes.
up.
Because they
Yes,
don't
it's
like the
those.
service, or because it got more
It
expensive?
got more expensive.
Yeah.
We're cheap.
I mean, it would make sense that the town would,
Yeah, it would
would be
cheaper.
for that. More value.
But they're not, town is not out to make money on it, it's just to
No.
pay the expenses. All right, so you all set, will you and I
Yes.
will talk?
Yes.
Okay. Are you guys all set?
Yeah.
Okay, so the last thing is, it's a favorite one, it's the indirect charges, which, we need to move forward to find out the indirect charges, and if we can go, direct charges. I said, we've been talking about direct charges forever, but a lot of the charges should be direct. If we can put a dollar amount on it that's correct, such as pensions, healthcare, fuel, you know, we should go direct. And I'm not gonna bore everybody with what happens direct and indirect and
Oh,
all
I know,
that stuff,
I get
but,
it.
but the charges stay the same, but it goes down in the general fund, and right now it's in a double dip. So we gotta go direct on some of these charges that you can actually say the pension cost is X amount of dollars, it's a direct charge. It doesn't
Once they're
change it.
static.
And I can bring that to the table once I meet the treasurer. I haven't even sat down with him yet. Not him, I'm not blaming him, he's trying to sort.
Yeah, I
it
know,
all.
but we as a board should, you know, eventually, you know, we're gonna vote that we want these charges, I won't keep going over what they are. That's direct charges.
Yes,
We did that a year ago, 2 years ago.
so I'm assuming that the board would have to vote on that.
Right.
And I would have to bring it to the
Right,
table.
so
That's fine.
I'll put it on for the next meeting.
Okay, what do you want to do?
Is that all right with you?
Yeah, I think
You
that's
know,
an important issue that
it is.
I have, you know, it comes up often and we haven't dug into it really at all. I mean, at least not since I've been here.
Yeah, it's right in the enterprise fund manual, that if a charge can be pinpointed exactly what it is, then it goes direct, not indirect. Indirect charges are charges that you more or less flip a coin, heads or tails, and come up with some type of.
It's a direct fee.
Direct fee is,
Well, like gas, because that varies, so
You know what you're
that's
gonna
gonna be
pay.
indirect.
Each time.
yeah, well, you get, you know, with the card and everything else, you know exactly what fuel's gonna cost in the end, so it's a direct charge, it's not an
I
indirect.
did read the manual, I saw that.
Yeah, but they don't want direct charges.
They're not listening.
Because they can charge a lot more than what they should.
They're not,
Correct.
there's a little bit of leeway,
There's a gray area.
gray area.
It doesn't change it, doesn't change much, other than the fact that the town fathers don't want a direct charge.
Right.
Which
So
is
put some
definitely a reason for it.
thought into it, and the board votes, and I'll bring it to the table.
Correct, okay. All right, we'll put it on for next meeting and then see.
And
Just if we go
Yeah.
with direct charges. I'll have more information for you guys.
I had emailed Sean today if we could start putting these on Zoom. I mean, I know we're not voting on that because it's not on the agenda, but I would like the meetings to be on Zoom.
You're on cable TV.
I know, but people have specifically asked quite a lot, especially,
I thought we were gonna go Zoom.
we're getting more popular.
I thought this place was
I mean, the whole purpose, one of the purposes had been stated that,
This other thing, right?
you know, there's tech available here that there wasn't available in the library.
Let me ask a question.
I'll wait till.
Are the boys doing Zoom? They
They offer what they call a hybrid.
They
You
do a
can either
hybrid?
show up in person or you can go to the place.
Right, they all do,
Yeah, they all do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
do?
except
We
us.
should do that.
you should.
So if everyone else is doing, we should do the same.
I think so too, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
People have specifically
I mean,
asked.
John has a nice profile, people should be able to see it.
They'll see the boss right
Yeah,
here.
that's right.
Yeah, he's the boss.
Especially winter, you know, it's hard for people to get out
All right.
sometimes.
Let's go on to the accept the minutes. I read the minutes, so.
I read the minutes,
Bobby, you read the minutes?
No.
All right.
they were correct. I always appreciate that you didn't write about how I walked in late from the doctor and almost fell off the chair.
I'm okay with the minutes.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes for December 11, 2023. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Thank you for
Thank you.
making everybody's comments and putting them in the,
That's a lot of work.
That's a lot of work.
Thank you. Okay, our next meeting is, no, superintendent's report.
I was gonna say,
Yeah, what about Sheldon?
all the time.
Sorry, Sean.
That's all right.
Just abbreviated one.
Yeah, it's gonna be abbreviated,
We're gonna
yeah.
go in a minute.
He's coming on. Finally.
It's warm now.
We did have a building, I don't know, call it committee, I guess, it's a building organization meeting about some of the punch lists that have to be completed on this building. And we're finding a few more things that need to be done, and the general contractor assured us that it will be taken care of. So we're not quite moving in completely yet,
No, they did.
but we're getting there. And the technology is one of the issues, getting the cable and the internet and everything functioning properly, so we could do a Zoom meeting via the screen of the camera.
Okay.
So that's in the works. We had our first plow snow yesterday, and I have to say, everything went off all right. No problems. They seem to be happy with the results. And now we're concentrating on the next storm tomorrow night, which is 60, 70 mile an hour winds and heavy rain.
Heavy rain. So we'll save the salt budget.
Yeah. That's all I really had. It was nothing
Yeah.
major.
Sean, can you just speak about the 500-gallon oil tank?
Yes. We were actually gonna bring it down there the other day, but the trailer needs to
For
get
the
inspected
fishermen,
first.
so everybody.
Yeah.
Did you make a grant for it?
Hmm?
Did you apply for the grant?
We didn't,
Oh, Jesus.
I know. I have a couple of issues I have to take care of.
Okay.
I'll be honest, I forgot. I looked at the date,
It's the end
it's
of
way
the
late.
week. It was a tight time frame. There was a grant.
Yeah, no, I remember you had said that.
There was a grant. It was the end of the week though.
Right.
It wasn't like 2 weeks. It was like end of the week.
Yeah.
So here's the point. We should put in for a grant in the future because it's a constant round.
So that's why I looked to find out what the next date is.
Yeah, it's a constant round.
Yeah.
I'll ask,
The guy's supposed to send me an email when it comes.
okay, good, yeah, good. It's a rolling thing.
Revolving, yeah.
Yeah.
And that pays for the disposal, or a portion of it? The grant
It
would,
paid for a couple different things.
couple different things,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, so I mean, basically, they're trying to help all the harbors.
Yeah,
to
I
make
didn't know
sure
what
that
it,
they're-
I'm just wondering what it specifically paid for, because it
Yeah.
already had the tank.
And it's a good
Maintenance.
location.
Hmm?
It's a good location.
It is.
Right down at the
It is.
wastewater.
I may
It
have
gives
it
it,
on.
it gives it
Good idea.
very convenient for the fishermen and others there in the harbor.
It's right in the back garage, if you want to see it. Right now.
Oh, I want to see it down at the wastewater.
Yeah, me too. I gotta get it down there. Was I supposed to give this letter back to you folks?
No, it goes to
CBA.
scan it, send it to the town council.
I just did. So he's got it, okay.
All signed?
No, it has to go to ZBA.
Who's gonna present it to the ZB? Do I have to send it to them by email, or was
Um,
Attorney Galvin gonna bring it, or send it?
Well, if Attorney Galvin has it, won't it go into their documents for the meeting?
I sent it to him, so
Or
he has
send
it.
it to Nancy? I don't know. I don't think we can bring in documents that haven't been,
It's very,
pr-
This whole process is very frustrating.
Submitted,
Well, he has it, I sent it to him.
yes, it was submitted.
I'll call him.
All right,
That's
fine.
all I have.
So want to make a adjournment?
I make a motion that we adjourn. Do I have a second?
Do you have a second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
I mean, this
Yeah,
letter is